What is going on, everyone, here on Facebook Live? Brian
and Lindsay here.
And we are excited to talk to you today about getting uncomfortable.
Yes, and hello to the podcast as well.
Oh, yes. So welcome to MyJourney. This is episode number 65 of the MyJourney experience. We're going to be diving into how to use discomfort to grow.
And expand.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the things we want to do in this episode is really lean into just some examples from our lives, just some things that have always given us drive and hope, and some different ways that you can really focus in during this time of discomfort to expand and become more. And I think it's important to kind of quantify this, because it's not just expansion because you are hungry and you're going to be driven and disciplined and like rah, 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 but it's seeing that there's different opportunities here for us all to improve, because time, whether wasted or well spent, is still time. It's the same thing no matter what. And we have an opportunity right now to use our time wisely or to let it slip by. And I would always advocate to be on the other end of that. So
yeah, and I think that right now, especially during the current times that we're in and with the pandemic, everybody working at home, there's two different perspectives I've seen. There's this perspective of, well, now I'm working at home. This is an opportunity to kind of take it easy. The world's telling us to relax. Like, we need to relax and pull back. But then I also see the other side of, like, you need to, like, hustle and learn as much as you possibly can. So it's kind of like there's these two different perspectives on the extreme sides. And we want to take that and give you kind of our perspective on it. Because it's not about, I don't think this is a time to relax and do nothing. But we also don't believe it's a time to drive yourself into the ground. Yeah. But there's a great marriage you can find between those two perspectives.
Well, a good example is I had a conversation with a client who was really struggling to get momentum. And it's important to have those two dichotomies set up. It's like the grace of understanding, like, hey, if your routines are thrown off and you can't get back into place and it's really a struggle right now, that's completely okay.
And normal.
Like, it's normal. Like, the first week and a half of this, like, we were sleeping all different hours. We were thrown off in our schedule, and that's okay. It's the other part of that, of not accepting that as a new normal if you don't want it.
Yes.
And if there's something that you don't want in your life, then it's a matter of flipping it on its head and saying, like, how can I change this and how can I improve? And so the conversation I had with my client was, opportunity, you have to be willing to get uncomfortable. You have to be willing to see it as an opportunity to grow. And being uncomfortable is not a negative thing. No. And in fact, when we're in discomfort, it's actually an opportunity for us to see that we're expanding and becoming more. Because every time that we embrace our comfort zone and we go a little bit beyond it, that's where we truly gain confidence. And that's what we want to talk about today, because there's been a lot of different opportunities in our life that have been very uncomfortable over the last 4.5 years. And we want to be able to kind of give you some perspectives that might help with your mindset and some of your habits in this season too.
Yeah, and I think it's important to just draw one last definition for everyone. So when we say taking it easy, it's very different from recharging, like we mentioned. So this is definitely a time to recharge, take a step back, and reconnect with what's important to you, right? Because taking it easy is like what? It's like Netflix.
Well, it's like when you're taking it easy, it's like, oh, I'm just going to be apathetic and let this time slip by.
Right.
I'm not going to wake up with any intention. I'm going to go through the motions.
I'll get to work when I get to work.
Yeah, it's like if you've been craving to get in shape, or you finally start to work out, or if you've been craving to learn something new or have more time with your family, even if it is just through FaceTime or phone calls, like if there's something that you've been wanting to do, you literally have the time to do it.
Yeah.
And so there's no more excuses for us. There's like literally zero. There's no excuses for us to not be able to at least step forward, because eventually life is going to go back to normal, or it's going to be more normal than it is right now. And it really comes down to, what do you want that to look like? What do you want to look like? How do you want it to look? How do you want to show up in that next time? Because it's like a bear in hibernation. Like, we're all in this time together, and we're being forced to examine ourselves. And the challenge is that a lot of times we don't want to examine ourselves.
No,
and so it's easy to say, okay, well, I'm just going to be apathetic. I'm going to watch Netflix. I'm going to let the time slip by, or I'm going to take it easy on myself. And I don't think that you need to drive yourself into the ground. I don't think you need to be productive for the sake of productivity, but there is a way to approach this that will give you life, give you energy, and give you hope. And today we're going to share 3 examples of what that looks like.
Yeah, and so first it's like understanding that when you're well, how do I put this? I think we get in this really locked in zone when we're uncomfortable and we're like, I don't even know how to move forward. I don't even know what I can do. I just feel so paralyzed because I'm so uncomfortable and I feel claustrophobic, or I feel claustrophobic in my own self. And it's like, we want to teach you kind of, if you're in that place, first of all, it's okay. Like Brian said, totally okay, totally normal. A lot of us have felt that way. We have.
Well, and I think,
and
the references that we're going to talk about today are basically evidence from our thoughts and lessons that we've learned through our journey as entrepreneurs, as coaches. Lindsay and I first started our business in New Hampshire. I started as soon as I graduated college. I was a college student, started an online coaching platform where I could coach people in fitness and wellness. And then we moved to Los Angeles. Lived in Los Angeles for a year and a half, built our online business, and then moved to Dallas because we had an opportunity here to expand and kind of get into a different field that we wanted to with our coaching. And each part of that journey, whether that was directly in fitness, but more in business and in life, which is really what this podcast is about today. It's not about how you're going to lose weight. It's about how you're going to expand your life. Each one of those lessons gave us so much perspective on how to continue to move forward. And so there's been so many times that we failed. There have been so many times we've been challenged. There's been so much discomfort. There's been things that have gone drastically wrong. And then there's also been things that have gone really right. And so we want to talk about just some of those examples of how we've used those failures, how we've used those discomforts to really flip things and move forward.
Exactly. And to round that back out, it's like if you're in a place where you feel paralyzed or you feel excited and you just don't know what to do, it's like, listen to this podcast, these stories that we're going to tell. Give us your thoughts if you're watching us live broadcasting this. But know that from listening to this, you'll feel like you can move forward regardless of where you are, and you can expand if you so choose. It is your choice, and so that's what we want to give you here.
Well, and it's really important. So the first point is really understanding that there's a conscious choice to expand, and it's really knowing.
It's knowing that by stepping into the discomfort that you feel, by leaning into that on purpose, and this is something I talk about when I'm doing my Empower You retreat, it's step into your fire. Any of the women that went to that retreat will know what I'm talking about, but for you guys, it's like the point of that saying is that your discomfort will feel fiery, it will feel scary, it will feel terrifying at times, but the point is when you do step into it, you can know for sure that you will grow by doing that. You will expand if you lean into discomfort, if you choose to lean into that, you will. So that's very comforting, I think, when you're thinking of actually facing it or walking through it. It's very comforting to know, like, okay, well, I'm not going to crumble if I do this. I'm actually going to grow.
Well, and the example that comes up for me is when I first started my business. When I first started my business, I was a college graduate.
Yep.
I had no experience ever running a business. I had no experience ever really setting up a company or building a company or managing finances or anything like that. And I had never been in an area of uncertainty like that. Like when you're growing up, you have some certainty of your parents, if you're lucky and you're blessed, which I was. And then at the other end, you have college, which gives you some certainty in a way.
Structure.
And for me, I worked full-time when I was in college, and I started my business, but there was still umbrella there of some comfort. And then when I graduated, I said I had a job opportunity from Tesla. I could go live in Boston and be one of the first sales reps in their new stores in on Boylston Street, or I could continue with my business. And I decided that, hey, I can always go sell anything. I can always go have a job. I want to take this opportunity to see my business out because the worst thing that happens is I fail. And I say that, in the next couple weeks after that, I decided to move out of my parents' house and move down from Frankl, New Hampshire, down to Manchester, New Hampshire, and build my online business as a fitness and lifestyle coach. And I spent all my money to move out. So I had literally $34 in my bank account. I had no idea what was going to happen. I had no idea how I was going to get clients. There was no plan. There was no anything. It was literally a massive wave of uncertainty. And in those moments, you have the opportunity to be really afraid and to be scarce, or to shift your mindset to abundance and energy that's going to give you life. And so in that moment, I decided, like, hey, I'm going to do whatever I have to. I'm going to connect with this. I'm going to really get clear on my vision. And in that moment where I could have easily contracted, I expanded, and then the business grew exponentially over the year in the next 2.5 years, and it's just been continuing to bring up new examples. And it's a challenge for me, like, to talk sometimes. It's like, so I look at myself as an entrepreneur who loves coaching people in their wellness, who's building an amazing wellness company. So I know that a lot of times we talk about fitness, we talk about weight loss, we talk about having consistency, but there's a huge lifestyle component of being happy. Because if you're not fulfilled in your career, if you're not fulfilled in what you're doing, and if you don't have some sense of certainty with what you want, then the fitness part doesn't matter. And so that's why we kind of want to talk about this today, because right now, there might be a tremendous amount of uncertainty. There might be a tremendous amount of discomfort in what you're experiencing. And the point that I want to really bring up in my own way is that no matter where you're at, you have an opportunity to shift. You have an opportunity to focus your attention elsewhere. And it might not be perfect, especially right now with the way the current state of things is going, but you do have a choice in your emotions. And you can be in a scarce state where you're thinking everything's going to fall apart and I'm afraid I'm going to live fearfully, or you can look at the situation and say, what can I do to improve the odds?
So it's taking more of an empowered role.
It's taking ownership, really. It's taking ownership of, like, hey, I don't like where I'm at. I need to find a way to move forward. I don't know what that looks like, but that's okay. And I think that responsibility, even if you do, and that's going to be the next thing, is even if you do fail, it gives you the perspective to keep going.
Before we go into that, I'm curious, I think it would be helpful to know where that, when you were thinking of, you say it as like a fluid thing of like, oh, well, I was still really afraid and like I chose to do this anyway, but what was the actual pivot between I'm really afraid, I don't have any money, where is it all going to come from, before you decided to leap and move out, and starting to shift into those more empowering like thoughts of action of like, I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to find a way to make it work. Like, what was the pivot point between those two emotions or thoughts?
The pain of what I experienced was the pain of what I was experiencing with where I was at was worse than the fear of where I was going. And I was like, there was so much pain in being where I was at before I left, and it was just like the pain was worse than the fear. And sometimes it's necessary to feel both things. Like, pain is an amazing change agent, because it teaches us what we don't want, and it teaches us the perspective of like how to get rid of something. And so that was what I needed. I needed to experience a tremendous amount of pain in my life before that, in my actual personal life, in order for me to shift out of that. And that's when I was like, okay, this fear, the uncertainty, the idea that everyone's going to think I'm a failure is not as uncomfortable as the pain of where I'm at. And that was what gave me life.
Yeah, well, I think that's a huge point, because I know a lot of people that are in pain right now and are really scared of what's going to happen to them and their families, or just themselves or their career. And it's like being able to step away just for even a split second to say, like, I don't want this fear to fuel what I'm about to do, which is either nothing or contracting, like running away. It's like, I don't want this fear to control me, and I using that as like an engine to fuel like that positive direction or that positive growth, instead of just sitting in it and being like, I'm so scared, I can't do anything. It's like, use that as like, wait, I don't want to feel this way forever, so like shift. I think it's really powerful.
So for you then, what was an opportunity that, and so the lesson there is obviously understanding where you're at, being able to say, like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel is the biggest way. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's something that you can latch yourself to. And my biggest encouragement is, if you're in that space where you're feeling that discomfort, maybe in a similar way, attach something at the end of the tunnel. What can you put in your clear vision? What can you attach that gives you life? What can you attach that gives you hope? find some way to do that. And I want to
Yeah.
kick it to you. Like, what was an opportunity that you felt like there's so much discomfort, I don't know how I can expand, or I don't know how I can make it through this, or what was that level of like comfort that you had to break through?
Yeah, well, I think inside
And
of...
I want to say this too, if you guys have questions here on the live stream, feel free to comment them. We'd love to connect with you and love to give you some feedback on
Yeah,
this.
if you're feeling really stuck right now, let us know and we'll kind of walk you through it a little bit. That'd be really great to do live. So for me, I think something that I'm very used to doing and that I hope will inspire some of you guys out there too is I'm so used to seeking discomfort on purpose. It's only in the times where I like don't realize I'm uncomfortable that I'm like, oh God, wait, what do I do? But I think that a couple opportunities that I would have had to contract would be like when we moved either time, but really when we moved out of LA and into Dallas. Because the move to LA was kind of like, yay, this is exciting. We're gonna like kick ourselves in the butt and like it's gonna be great and we're gonna make it happen. And it was exciting and it was like kind of uncomfortable, but it still felt like chasing the dream. But moving to Dallas was a conscious decision to get uncomfortable and leave our comfort zone that we had built. Like in LA, we started to build a family, meaning friends, not literally a family, but we started to build a friends group, and we started to feel really comfortable in our routines. And like the choice to move to Dallas was like, let's like rip ourselves away from this and see what we can do in Dallas. And the thing about Dallas is that if you've ever been to the South, it's very comforting, it's very homey, it's like, it isn't a rat race like LA, so you don't feel that external pressure to grow. It's more of like, it just feels more comfortable. So I think we could have taken Dallas as an opportunity to like step back and relax and kind of like settle
Raise
into
a family.
life. Yeah, start a family, like do like these.
Get a dog,
which we do still want to do, and we will. But we could have seen it as an opportunity to like relax and chill out and not worry about whatever growth. And we didn't. We sought the discomfort of that choice instead of seeking the comfort in the choice, if that makes sense. So I think that was probably one of the areas. But all in all, I know that as Lindsay, if I lean into discomfort and I do scary things, I will grow. So that's motivating enough for me. So I think that's something that you can use as a motivating factor. But
I love that. Yeah. Well, and so the first thing is like seeing that there's an opportunity in the discomfort. And then the second piece here is to seek feedback over failure. And so a lot of times we shy away from doing the things that we want. We are in a state of discomfort and we're like, oh, I know that I need to get out of here. It makes us uncomfortable, it makes us anxious, but there's a fear of failure. There's an innate fear that we're going to fail, that something's going to go wrong, and we fear that judgment. And this is what I was talking about with one of my clients, is like, you need to be able to seek feedback over failure. And so a lot of times when we start out with a path that we're going on, it's really easy to see anything that comes against us as critical judgment. Yeah. But what happens is along the way you can shift and see that it's just feedback. Yes. So for instance, over the course of our journey, like we've tried different solutions for coaching. We've the first time I ever launched a course of teaching people, I expected to have more people sign up, and I only had like 5 people sign up. And in my heart, I was like, "But this is such a great thing. Why didn't it work? Why didn't I have the amount of people that I really wanted to have in it? Why didn't I connect with people deeper and really be able to guide them?"
Yeah,
and the reason why was because it just wasn't good enough. Like it wasn't like there was a mark that was not good enough. Either it didn't connect with people, it wasn't a good enough product, it didn't present it the right way, and that was okay because the people who were in it did a really amazing job, and that was an example for me of how to actually teach people, how to give them our lessons, how to show them how to live a healthier and overall better quality of life. And I think it's important to start to see that the things that don't work out for you aren't necessarily harsh judgments, but they're points where you can say, okay, why didn't that work out? What do I need to change, and how can I get better from this?
Yeah, and I think that this is a point that we necessarily need to like go super in depth on, because I think everybody's kind of on the same page with that. Once you hear like, oh wait, how can I, like, it's just a shift of perspective. It's all that it is. It's not like you need to go seek out failing a million times. It's more of just a shift in perspective that if you do step out of your zone and you fail, quote unquote, it's not actually the fact that you're falling apart, that you're not good enough, that like nothing's ever going to work out for you again. It's none of that. Like if you experience if you miss the mark of what your goal was, which is what we deem as failure, then it just means that you need to redirect yourself or adjust the vehicle that you're in, adjust the steering wheel, and shoot for either a better goal or just like fix up your car a little bit while you're driving towards that goal. So I mean, it's the same thing for both of us. Like we've had projects that we were so excited about. We're like, this is gonna be the best thing we've ever done in our lives. Oh my gosh, or at least I felt that way. I've had high hopes, but we'll like launch a project and then it'll be like, it'll still work, but it's like a bomb, and we're like, oh, okay. It'd be really tempting to be like, oh, that's a failure. I'm a failure. Nothing's ever going to work out again. And especially if you're at home right now and trying to reorganize your life, and everything you keep trying is just failing miserably, like you're like, I'm going to go like for a run every day, or like I'm going to entertain my kids by doing XYZ today.
Yeah, I'm going to read a book. I'm going
to read a book. I'm going to learn. And like those things are just bombing. It's totally okay. It's just feedback that either that's not right for you right now, or you need to adjust like the other things in your life. Like it's just feedback is really all it is. So
well, it's so important too when we talk about like what we're all experiencing right now. It's just this massive shift in consistency. Like there's massive shifts in like our life went from being something that was normal to not normal in the matter of a day. And it's having the understanding that if you're trying to get yourself momentum right now, trying to get yourself moving in the right direction, it's gonna take some time. It's not just gonna happen overnight, and that's okay. That's how it's supposed to work. Like that's a normal thing, and that's feedback. So like I was talking to a client the other day who was like, oh well, I'm having such a hard time getting up in the morning, and I was like, okay, well, your body is thrown off because of your circadian rhythm. Like your body, it needs to get back into a rhythm of actually sleeping enough, actually giving you enough life. But the other piece is that this isn't going to be easy. And if you do sleep in, you do have that one moment where you get thrown off. Like that's literally okay, because just because you sleep in one day doesn't mean that you've ruined the whole day. You have another 24 hours to fix you have however much time in the day to get things right. And I think that's the perspective change that gives you a moment of like realization, like, okay, well, I can control this. It's just feedback that I'm not doing something the right way. It's like trying to lose weight. If you're trying to lose weight, or if you've ever tried to lose weight, maybe the perspective hasn't been, or the solution hasn't been the right solution for you. Maybe you were going about it the wrong way. Maybe there was some beliefs that you need to change inside you. And so it's just feedback, and that allows you to shift and really start to make things happen.
Yeah, and it's also a key word inside of there is it's a moment of self-reflection too, which is like kind of the next point that we have. It's like, okay, failure doesn't mean you're a failure, but it's also where can you improve as a parent, as an employee, as a person in general. So like the way to lean into discomfort as well as all the points we already gave is to seek your own personal understanding. And you can explain what we mean by that in like your example.
Well, I think it's important that if you're someone who is perhaps feeling burnt out or feeling tired or feeling like you need a break, then use this time to unravel some of those pieces of you that you feel like have held you back. Like if you're someone who's been trying to lose weight and you're like, I don't know why I can't lose any weight. I don't know why I can't be fit. Why can't I just get rid of this problem? You have a month to do that. You have time to do that. Now you can seek personal understanding to understand what you need to create for yourself. And this is where it's like this discomfort also is discomfort in looking at the areas of our lives that we don't like. Like I know for me, all I want to do is push forward. All I want to do is move forward. All I want to do is make my goals happen. I'm so driven to make that happen. One of the biggest things that happened to me, though, in the past year and a half is I got so burnt out that I needed to take a whole month off. Like a whole month off of all social media content, a whole month off of all pursuing my goals, just to reflect on what I needed. And that's an uncomfortable thing. Like it's very uncomfortable to sit down with yourself and ask, like, what do I need to improve on? Where am I lacking? What are the challenges I'm facing right now? How am I playing a role in my own demise?
Right.
Like, how am I sabotaging myself in this process? Because there's something I am not doing And that personal responsibility is a point of self-reflection and understanding that I think that we can all use right now. Like, how powerful would it be to use this time to ask yourself the question of, like, okay, what do I actually want the next 5 years to look like, or the next year and a half to look like, or what do I want to happen after this? Like, where do I need to grow and learn and become more? Like, there's gonna, I saw an amazing post that is like 100% of us are all in disarray right now. 3% of us are going to come out of the other end of this on fire with more knowledge, more impact, more drive, and more life than we went into. And there's going to be 97% of us who are entering the same way. Now, I don't know if those statistics are right. They're probably not, probably made up. But it's the same proof that, like, there's going to be a certain percentage of us who come out of this and are able to contribute more, who are able to be more positive, who are able to, like, one of my friends today, he's a amazing architect, and he has a 3D printer, and he used this 3D printer to create masks for healthcare workers. It's
Shout out to Ryan.
That is what we're talking about. Like, that is something that gives you the opportunity to give during this time. That's something that doesn't just happen, though. Like, that doesn't just happen. You have to be intentional about, like, what role do I play in this, and how can I be a positive impact? Like, we're doing these podcasts. We haven't done a podcast in so long. The reason why we brought this back is because we wanted to directly engage with you all. So we wanted to hear how you're doing. We want to hear about what's going on for you, and we want to be able to connect on a deeper level. And I think that each one of us plays a role in this outcome, but having the understanding of, like, what you want and how you can become better or more throughout this is an empowering thing that gives you also the perspective when you're in discomfort that, like, it's okay to be uncomfortable with not knowing those answers.
Yeah, and it's a great time to look at yourself from a non-judgmental standpoint, because, like, for me in the past, like, couple weeks, I started to feel uncomfortable in my body or in myself, and it's like, it's a very unfamiliar and uncomfortable feeling, so I haven't felt that way in a long time, and I couldn't quite understand why. And I just used this, like, moment of self-reflection to be like, oh wait, I'm kind of too comfortable, like, in my routines. Like, I'm not really pushing myself the way that I'm used to pushing myself when I am at my best. And it was like, at first, it's like, does feel judgmental, because you're like, oh well, I don't want to change my routines. I don't want to try to, like, throw myself off. And it's like, okay, wait, don't judge yourself. Just assess where you're at and what you need, like we've been saying. Assess what you need, try to understand kind of what's going on, and then take action from that place. Because when you're taking action from a place where you're judging yourself, like, your outcome's probably not going to be the best. Like, you're either going to feel guilty, or you're going to just, like, you're going to craft this, like, elaborate plan that you're not actually going to like, and to learn more, be more, do more. But if you're coming from a place of, like, I love myself so much and I want to expand, you're going to do so much better. You're gonna enjoy yourself so much more.
Well, it's like, so you're doing a conscious transformation course right now.
Yes.
That's one of the things that you decided to do.
The power of emotion.
One of the things that Lindsay decided to do, and then I'm taking a meditation certification so that I can continue to teach people meditation and mindfulness.
So mindful.
I'm gonna be so mindful, so in the zone. You guys are gonna, like, start seeing us dress in, like, hippie garb and
the next time you see us, we'll be like this.
But those are the things that we wanted to learn. Those are things that we wanted to learn more about during this time. And we decided to do it. And we also, but, like, another part of that is we also decided to finish watching the Harry Potter series.
We're not there yet.
We're almost. We're on.
We have 3 videos.
Videos. Oh yeah, we do
3
have
movies left.
We do have a few more, but because the last one's 2, and then the first one we skipped because she had already seen it.
Yeah, but now we gotta go back.
But the example that I'm using is, like, be intentional, but also give yourself something that you want. Like, give yourself something that you need. Fuel your soul. You know, for me, like, just full ownership. Like, my grandfather passed away Sunday, and that was really challenging. Really emotional time, and it's been really tough because I haven't been able to be home. But first off, the perspective for me is that I was so close with him that I know that his spirit is one that was so driven and so intense that he would want me to keep doing what I was doing. But I've also been spending an hour, like, talking to my family every day.
Which is so positive.
You know, I've been FaceTiming my parents when I can't be there. I've been, like, calling, checking in. Me and my brother have talked every single day.
Shout out to the pickle eye.
And when we're doing that anyways, over the last few weeks, but it's just become more intensified. And that's what my spirit needs. That's what my soul needs. Is what my heart needs, and that's also what I need to contribute to the people who I love. So the point is, it's not just about running yourself through the wall, but if there are walls in your way, break them down, go through them, crush them. Like if there's things that you've been delaying for so long, take them to church, get them done, crush them out of the way. Like there's no reason to play small right now, because you have the opportunity right now. You have the opportunity right now to do almost anything you ever want. And if you're someone who is working, if you're in the healthcare field, then that's also something like you are such
a leader.
Well, you're such a positive influence. Like every one of us owes you a debt of gratitude for those who are giving so much. But it's kind of the same thing. Like every single one of us has a role in this equation, and we play a role in the positive outcome. And so sitting back, watching Netflix, being apathetic, not choosing to use this time intentionally.
It's a sure way to make yourself not feel so great.
Yeah, well, it's like I posted a quote yesterday that said, taking it easy on yourself is the road to an easy life. An easy life is the road to a hard life. Because if you are not pushing yourself, there's going to be things that knock you out of your way. There's going to be things that just beat the hell out of you. And you consistently grow through facing challenges, overcoming them, and realizing that you can withstand so much more than you ever thought you could, because you're a human being. And the human being spirit is so important. It's like, I don't know if you've ever read, if you could read one book right now, and you're someone who's listening to this and this resonates with you, read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. So Viktor Frankl was he's a psychologist who was also a Jew. And he was in the Nazi war camps as a prisoner in the Holocaust. And he was in Auschwitz. He almost died, and he survived the Holocaust during World War II. And he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning about his experience. And the biggest takeaway from the book is that the thing that, and I'm going to mess up the quote, so forgive me, but essentially, each one of us has one thing that's innate to the human spirit, and that's our ability to find meaning and purpose. And when we have meaning and purpose, we can thrive. And when we have meaning and purpose, we can continue to move forward. And so if you're someone who's feeling down, feeling out, that's okay. You're not alone. But lean into what gives you purpose, what gives you life, and what gives you connection. Because that's going to allow you to stay on the path that you're meant to be on during this time.
Yeah, and so in summary of that, I think one thing that we would like you to take away from this podcast or Facebook Live, if you're watching Facebook Live, is to take a second and just ask yourself where you want to go right now and where you want to improve right now, how you want to use this time. And whatever your answer is, it's fine. There's no wrong answer. It's truly like you will be accountable for your outcome based on what you choose. And that's okay. It's just understanding that whatever you do choose, whether it's to do nothing or to do something or any arrangement of things, you are accountable to that outcome. And as long as you know that, you can make whatever choice you want, and it's totally fine. So that's what I would suggest everybody does. But when you're talking about discomfort and you're talking about the challenge that we're all in together, it's first figure out how to expand there. Know that you will expand by embracing it, and then seeking feedback over failure, and then really seeking a personal understanding of yourself and what you need right now. And if you can do all of those things, you'll be able to expand in this time. You will. No matter where you're at, no matter how stuck or expansive you feel right now, doesn't matter. As long as you understand and you do those things, you'll feel so much better about who you are and what you do by the end, quote unquote, the end of all of this. And it will be a great experience to look back at as like, wow, I really stepped it up in that time.
Yeah, and I think that like we said, these are different references from our life, whether it's in business, whether it's in health, whether it's in our own journey, and that was our intention today, is to talk about that, because there's been a lot of times where we've felt like when we first moved to Los Angeles, the like our business, and I say this as like a reference for like just complete uncertainty, our business went from a great place to having no income. Like we didn't know what we were doing, had no idea how to make it work, how we'd actually connect with people online, and we figured it out. It worked, and as we've gone through the process, it's been about helping people and continue to connect. But there's been so many times where we've been like, how do we grow? How do we make this happen? How do we actually pursue the things that we want during this discomfort? And it's like, I remember one time, like after I decided to quit bodybuilding, like after we both quit bodybuilding, there was so much uncertainty of like, where do we go? Where do we go? What are we supposed to do? We moved to Los Angeles expecting to be bodybuilders and have this like career, and we don't effing want it. Now what? Now the whole world is yours. And that's kind of the same thing here. Like, you have an opportunity to audit yourself and say, like, what needs to go, what needs to happen, what needs to change, and how can I get better through this experience? And so the biggest thing that we can encourage you to do, and the biggest thing that we're doing with all of the clients that we're helping right now, is continue to be mindful of that perspective. Like, even with our fitness and lifestyle clients, it's not about just losing weight right now.
No.
It's about improving the quality of our consistent habits and our rituals. It's about finding a way to remove the judgment of like everything that's negative that we're constantly beating ourselves up about. Right. And by finding that alignment and creating some consistent routines, you can really thrive. And that's the ultimate goal of what we hope to continue to impart as we're sharing our message and continue to be a light for everyone that connects with us.
Yeah, and so if you guys enjoyed this podcast, please share it. You can, if you're watching it on iTunes or listening to it on iTunes, you can screenshot it, share it to Instagram, and tag us. If Facebook, feel free to share it, or just to comment if we're still live and we can answer some questions. But all in all, thank you guys
for being here.
Yes.
And if you...
I was going to say, also, if you haven't seen yet, I have a live workout that I do every Wednesday, and Brian...
I'm going to be hosting a live meditation on Thursdays.
Yeah, Thursday evenings, and I'm going to be launching my own live workouts as well. Yes. So stay tuned for more information on that. It's going to be a blast. Yes. I will not be wearing a suit during that time. Although, I think you should. Although we might bring the suit back for a workout, you know? Definitely.
Who knows?
It's just work-life balance.
It is. It's about no balance, just suits.
Yes.
But thank you all for being here. We hope that you're having a wonderful week. We hope that you're keeping your pace, and more than anything, keep shining, keep being a positive influence, and just keep striving forward, because eventually this is all going to pass, and we're going to be in a better place. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for being here, Bill. Cheers. And we love you guys. Have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.